can't believe how much I love this hat, and I can't believe how easy it was to make something so trendy, so cozy, and be able to use whatever yarn I wanted. If that's something you're interested into, please stick around. I am so glad you clicked on this video. Thank you for joining me today. I want to talk to you about this planned scrappy beanie that I think you'll love making. I love making beanies. It's one of my favorite things to do. I'm going to be making a whole bunch more this season in some colors that I think I'll use a lot more than the beanies I've already made. And if you're wondering about my qualifications, I have been crocheting for quite a while now, and I've got a few videos I will link for you all about beanies. For general tips on making beanies, I've got a video I'll link for you where I go through one lesson I learned from every single beanie I've made. I wear beanies pretty much every day. I even wear them to work. So let's talk about this particular beanie right here. I absolutely love it, and my intention was to make a super cozy beanie. I wanted to use my soft yarn, my coziest ones. This is like a deep winter type of hat. So I used Yarn Bee Romantique, which is like the hygge yarn. I also used some older Yarn Bee Baby Bee, Super Saver brushed, just chenille. And I kind of knew the color palette that I wanted to work with. And these, for the most part, were 5 weights. So the Super Saver brushed is actually a 4 weight, but it does have that halo. And then the just chenille claims that it's a 6 weight, but it's kind of a puny 6 weight, but it's like a hefty 5. So they all did kind of average out my hygge or my romantique, and then the baby bee were 5. Tip number 1 for doing your scrappy beanie is make sure that your yarn weights all are relatively similar, and that's going to make it much easier and keep your hat more uniform. So for me, I have seen a bunch of scrappy beanies while I'm scrolling through YouTube, and I try to stay up on some different trends. My daughter is Gen Z, and I want to make things that she will find, attractive and with it and hip, and not like it's something that her mother would be wearing. So I try to stay up on these trends, and I noticed several thumbnails for scrappy beanies, but I have to be honest, I am too particular to take my random yarn scraps and make them into a beanie. So number 1, I want it to be soft and cozy and cuddly, and number 2, I want the yarns to all like meld together and flow together. I'm not a super random person, so to me that part isn't attractive. If you're just wanting to use up some yarn scraps, go hog wild and put whatever you want in here, but I went with a specific color palette. You can use absolutely any yarn for this. Basically, we're making a rectangle, and we're making this rectangle in specific dimensions. We want this to be 14 inches in height, and we also want this to be about 21 inches in length, and that's for your average size head. I think my head is a little above average in size, but this fits me well. I will say with this, if you are using a stiff yarn, perhaps only make your beanie 13 inches in height. This is definitely very soft, slouchy, so if I wanted to, I could make, I could not fold the brim so high and pull it back and have it more slouchy if I wanted to. The next decision she'll have to make is whether or not she wants to wear this extra cozy with the very cute and soft and cozy combed out knots, or if she wants to wear it the other side with the knots on the inside with knots only on the brim. Totally up to her how she wants to do it. I actually like it with the little fuzzies on the outside, so I'm going to flip this back. Here is an up close of our ultra soft and cozy hygge beanie, and like I said, I am really loving the different textures and just how cozy it is. Like I said, this is definitely a warm winter wear type of cap for this one, but the next one I'm going to show you isn't quite so wintry. But a few tips I wanted to give you here. If you are doing something that has some of like this type of hygge or romantique yarn, is it is so very, very slippery that you do need to be very mindful of your knots. That's why, you know, if you didn't want to do this more trendy type of cap with knots, you know, if you wanted to weave them in, just leave your tails kind of long for that. With this, you know, it really doesn't matter how big your knots are. You know, because it's really just part of the decoration. But the other thing I will tell you is I used just chenille in here as well, and the just chenille does not fray out. So something to be mindful if it's going to bother you that all of your frays don't look quite the same. I just cut my chenille yarn a little bit shorter. I just used a regular plastic comb and brushed these out. So it is pretty easy. I'm going to be honest, I did not use one that I had already put in my hair. I used a clean one from the Dollar Tree. But there it is up close. It is just cinched at the top. And I'm going to get into it and show you a little bit of how you can make this nice and easy. Okay, here is my current whip. And you may remember this yarn from my Hobby Lobby haul, where these were actually not dye lot clearance yarns. They were just ones that I absolutely fell in love with. They are all from the Soft Secret line. This is like, I am absolutely in love with this color, this rustic rouge. When I get done with this hat, I will maybe make a short just to show you how it turned out. And I'm really excited because I got a new winter coat for the first time in years, and I think it's going to match this absolutely perfectly. This bottom line is my original chain, and I believe I had around 44 stitches here. And of course, this is a 4-weight. So my 5-weight one, I didn't have as many. And again, you just want it to be about 14 inches. This one is going to be very, very soft and slouchy. So I can most definitely go the 14 inches and it will have a very nice drape. I'm using a little bit bigger crochet hook than the yarn calls for. I am actually using a 6mm. I went ahead and did my chain until it measured like just under the 14 inches because, you know, as you know, it'll stretch a little bit when you put that next row in. Half double crochets coming back. So actually it should be, for the second row, it would be in this direction. So my chain started here and went down. I chained one, and then for my second row, half double crochets right into the chain up until we hit the point where I have, for this hat, I did do 6. So the last 6 are going to be single crochets. So then I chained one, flipped it, in my next row, I did the 5 or 6 single crochets and then went into my double crochets going, or I'm sorry, my half double crochets going down. The reason I do this is, you can see it starting already, is that it tapers off, because the top we are going to cinch more like an accordion, and by doing this and having the singles up here, it actually is just less bulky, and that will bunch up better for us. So that is something I like to do, and I would do this pretty much on any beanie that I'm making this way. So what else is different about this beanie? So aside from doing this side, so it's always going to be on your side with the tail right there. So that's how you remember. You don't want to do it to the brim side. We don't want that any smaller. We don't want that tight. We certainly don't want like a weird bubble in the middle. The brim side, you do normal in your half doubles, and the top side, you want to do 5 or 6, you know, depending on your yarn and what you think will work best, of the single crochets. Here's the other thing that you're going to want to do differently, and I think this just finishes it off a little bit nicer. So I'm doing every single row in the back loop, okay, except the very first stitch and the very last stitch. I'm going just into the stitch. And what that does is it just makes that brim edge a little bit more solid, and it helps give it that more defined look. Now, the reason I'm doing it up here is because that's also going to help me when I go ahead and go into accordion this and cinch it tighter. It'll just give me a little bit more solid loops. It'll have 2 to go through instead of just 1. Half double crochets, except for the top 5 or 6, those are singles, and the very first stitch of the row and the very last stitch of the row are going to be regular crochets into the whole stitch, not just the back loop. Now let's talk about these color changes. I did them as random as I wanted. You could, number one, do as many colors as you want. I have, what is it? Over here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I am doing them as random as I want. I find the less I think about it, the better. That's how you get that scrappy look, is by doing it randomly. I don't suggest, stressing yourself out and trying to do some sort of mathematical equation along this lines. I really think that, like I said, just kind of grab it. I also didn't want the amount to be even ratios. I wanted it to be different as they went, so it gave it more of a scrappy look. And in this one that I'm making and keeping for myself, I think I'm going to actually just keep adding a little bit more of that rustic rouge because, like I said, I did get a coat that is that color. I am wearing some official Shannon Talks Yarn merch today, and this is just a very subtle t-shirt. It says crochet in the day away, and it says Shannon Talks Yarn, and it's got my bun on top. I was able to set up a merch shop. It'll be down below. You can scroll through. There are different types of products if you were to want to check any of those out. Most of them do not say Shannon Talks Yarn, so it is a little bit of a work in progress. I will be getting some other products in there and just seeing what I like, and maybe doing some updated type of designs. So if there's something that you have in mind, please let me know what you think would be great for this channel. If you have seen this pattern now and this is something that you like, but you're really not sure if you can pull it off, I have a video that I think you should watch, and I will have it linked up here, and it is all about having confidence wearing your crocheted garments, and I think that you will enjoy it. I really loved making it, and it was fun for me to do a little bit of a different type of video. Please check it out.